ads, when done right, are great. I would pay a subscription to Meta to see more ads on Instagram if I could. I love the ads. I buy things from them all the time. Things I need, things I don't need. These are great ads. Nothing. Google search ads, we've been using them. God knows we're making over $20 billion a year. They're very good at what they do. So when ads are great, if anything, you want more of them because they provide you value.
Hello, and welcome to the Media Copilot. It's a podcast that explores how AI is changing media, journalism, and content creation. I'm Pete Pachal, longtime tech journalist and founder of the Media Copilot, and I'm excited to bring you fascinating conversations with fellow journalists, media executives, and the people building how the business of news will work in the future. Today, I'm joined by Adam Singolda, the founder and CEO of Taboola. If you've spent any time on the open web, you know Taboola. It's the company that built its reputation helping publishers surface content that readers might otherwise miss. In other words, those around the web modules that shaped how discovery works online. The thing is, there's a little less around the web these days, especially when readers get answers from AI. And Taboola has been hard at work adapting to this new reality. It's also taking publishers along for the ride. Adam and his team have recently partnered with USA Today to launch DeeperDive, a conversational AI experience that lets readers ask questions directly about the news. So this isn't supposed to be a generic chatbot. It's trained on USA Today's own reporting, and it's designed to keep readers inside the publisher's ecosystem. In a landscape where AI often takes audiences away from media sites, that is an important distinction. Adam and I talk about what makes DeeperDive different from other chatbots, how Taboola may have finally cracked the code on getting audiences to engage with them, so stay tuned for that. And we also talk about how advertising fits into the mix. How do you do ads in chat without breaking user trust? Well, we talk about it. And we also talk about what the next big opportunity is for publishers in the coming years. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. And if you do, I'd be grateful if you'd leave a review for this podcast. Reviews, especially in Apple and Spotify, really do help the show. So please leave one if you can. Also, a really quick note, you may not know this, but a big part of my business is teaching AI to editorial teams. I host a monthly virtual AI class for beginners. It's only 60 minutes. And like everything I do, it's focused on practical takeaways for media professionals, people in journalism, PR, or communications. Plus, it's only $49. Each one's a live class, so it's always up to date, and I guarantee you'll walk away with something you can apply to your day-to-day. You can sign up at MediaCopilot.ai. Okay, now it is time for my conversation with Adam Singolda, CEO of Taboola. Adam, welcome to the Media Copilot.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad you're here. I know you're one of these sort of a rare breed of a founder who's still with the company after, how long has it been? 15 years since you founded Taboola? Something like that?
2007, I officially started. 2012 was first revenue, and a lot since. So
just a hobby before then?
Trying the best I can type of thing. But then so the last 13 years has been more of a business and growth and a lot going on. But officially 2007.
Oh, wow. That's a while. So that's, I was off. It's like 18 years, something like that, right? Am I right? I don't know. I can't do math. But it's been a while. And it's certainly been around long before anyone was talking about AI. So you've had your sort of finger on the pulse of digital media and a lot of the things around it and the forces that are driving audience behavior for a long time. So I definitely want to probe a lot of this, especially what you guys are up to lately. I want to also talk about some of your partnerships and interesting things you've been doing with Gannett or USA Today. But let's start with you. And since we're already talking about doing funding the company and the changes you've seen, I think most people think about Taboola. When they think about it, they sort of associate it with, the links you see at the bottom of articles. And it's like, okay, I get recommendations along with other stuff. So give me the 360 look at Taboola. Like, what do you guys really do? What is the ethos of the company and how has it evolved, especially over the last few years?
I mean, it evolved so much. I feel very lucky because at Taboola, it's like a Disneyland for geeks. You get to invent and start things as you go so many times. So it's really been such a fun ride for me and for us. But what we're trying to build is, in the world, advertising is a $1 trillion market. In that market, you have two that are very good, Google and Facebook, or Google and Meta. And they're very good at performance advertising, which means that if you have a business, big or small, they're good at helping you succeed and drive sales. But outside of them, outside of the walls, if you will, referred to as the open web, it's quite chaotic. And advertisers, for the most part, find it very complicated to succeed, very complicated to drive performance, to know how to get the metrics they are expecting to get, working with the Metas of the world. And we want to build that third company for performance advertisers, which I believe right now, these days, is really most or all advertisers. When they buy, they really expect it to work. They want some measurement and attribution. So I think in the market today, when it's primarily becoming driven by performance advertisers, Google and Meta are just so good at what they do, but they're big, mature, expensive. And outside of that, there is no Meta for the open web, and we're building that company. And by doing so, we build something that's very special, which is very aligned with publishers in ways that I believe never happened before in the history of the internet. We're working with 11,000 publishers such as Yahoo and Apple News and NBC and Disney and just in Newsset Today and McClatchy, incredible publishers all over the world. And we're aligned with them in a way that we only get to win if they win. Only if publishers and journalism succeeds, Taboola succeeds. And it created this unique dynamic that we're part of with the open web and publishers. I always laugh that the publishers and the open web need a good friend, and we are that one, good friend that they need. So we build this company that serves advertisers outside of search and social, but give them a similar type of performance metrics in mind. And we're serving the open web, helping it grow audience, engagement, and revenue. So we feel very proud at Taboola because when we grow, we generate revenue for, publishers that matter, information, news that matters, so that our children don't live in a world that the only way they can discover something important is on TikTok, So
right. So you brought up like Google and Meta at the outset, and they're obviously very successful performance advertising networks. So Taboola is like that, in other words, for the open web, and you're enabled through these partnerships with publishers, such that if someone comes to you and is like, I want, because everyone sort of thinks about Facebook, you're like, okay, I wanted to get this really granular sort of audience persona, this ideal customer, and I'm going to sort of drill it down geographically, demographically, and all these other ways. And you're able to do similar things because of your knowledge of the audience on all these sites. How are you able to do similar things?
Is if you think about search, which is very bottom of the funnel, I'm telling you what I want, and social, which is I tell you who I am. The open web is kind of this authenticity graph where I read about things I really care about. It's almost like this consideration graph, because I would never read about a healthcare situation, a resort, a product, unless I'm interested, unless I'm considering that thing. So a lot of times you read about something that you would, by the way, maybe never share. Like if I have 3 kids, if there's something that I'm thinking about my kids, I'm never going to put it on Meta. Like it's so personal, so important for me. But I'm going to spend hours at times reading about it. And this is when Taboola sees you or interacts with consumers. About 600 million people every day read content, watch videos across the web on incredible publishers, trusted publishers. And that's where Taboola we have first-party integration with those publishers. So we get to know you're the same person. We don't know your name. But we know that the same computer reads these type of things. And it helps us calibrate this, opinion about which markets you're in. So if you're reading about, 5 best coffee machines, there's a good chance you're thinking about buying a coffee machine. You may not there right now, but you're thinking about it. And that's a way for us to slowly help you progress, in that journey until you potentially buy. So that's when.
So you're the guys responsible for all the ads. When you Google something, now you see the same thing.
No, we're the nice guys. We're helping you consider things, not necessarily what you're referring to is called retargeting, which is a small portion of the business. For us, it's more about getting you to create a sequence of things that you might like until you end up wanting to do it. So we're mid-funnel, we're somewhere in the middle, and slowly helping you progress that conviction you need until you may want to make a decision. And that is a very powerful place to be, again, in a world that you may not want to share all those things on X and Meta, but you're definitely going to read about it if it's important.
Got it. Makes sense. So kind of like the expert at the customer journey, much more sophisticated than the sort of blunt force, just hammering you over the head with ads that you see everywhere that follow you around. So that's good. That's good background on what you guys do. So give me the sort of top level takeaway of what AI is doing to that, like that both your business and to audiences in general. The forces that are like, because what you're talking about, the research, that type of thing, a lot of that's happening in chatbots now. So what is this doing to your business and your outlook for the open web, even more broadly?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are two big impacts that AI has on our business. One has been going on for the last decade, which is, from machine learning to deep learning. And now with LLM, which is about the core matchmaking of information to consumers. When you go to a publisher now and we get to recommend you what to read, or we get to show you an ad that we think you might be in market to consume, there's been a tremendous amount of investment on AI, which is the core thing we invest in, to making advertisers successful, to helping businesses succeed and thrive on the open web is a key part of our mission. And that takes, we have about 600 engineers. And, in Israel, in LA, in Taiwan, incredible people that work, very hard on this mission and bring immense amount of talent, accessing the data we talked about earlier to use AI to make advertisers successful. And by doing so, getting more demand, more spend, more budgets going to the open web to publishers that matter. I mean, a dollar going to a publisher is such a better dollar than going to Meta. It serves editorial teams and local teams and national teams, people that tell, stories that matter to us as consumers. So it's an incredible mission. And that's first thing that AI is impacting, which is our core engine. We call that advertising platform Realize. And that's what we have about 15 to 20,000 advertisers are using that. So that's one of our biggest investments. The second thing that AI has done, it's done something bad and something good.
Okay.
All right. So the bad.
Bad news first.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the bad first. So the bad thing that it has done is that it has impacted search traffic negatively, which means that less people are searching to go into websites. And as we know, if you go to ChatGPT or Perplexity and any of these guys, they don't really send traffic to publishers. I mean, there's a tiny little icon. If you work really hard, you may find it, but that's not what they're trying to do, right? Sam is not trying to get people to leave ChatGPT and go to a publisher's website. That's not exactly part of the mission statement. He wants people, if given a choice, to never leave, which is also why he's partnering with other companies to create these APIs that allow people to do more in ChatGPT. So by definition, the modus operandi is to get people to stick around and never leave. Yet another walled garden. Same for the smaller LLMs, like that we know. However, and same for search, which is impacted by that. So the bad thing that happened is that some publishers get less traffic from search. That's the bad. The good thing is that I believe we're entering a whole new, interface for the internet as we know it, given the revolution we call LLM and AI.
And why is that a good thing?
Because it's so incredible that when consumers talk to LLM, the revenue opportunity and the engagement opportunity from those consumers is dramatically higher than old web traffic, old web search, old web page views, old web clicks. So if you can imagine 1,000 people conversing with LLM models, say on a publisher site, or 1,000 people just reading things on the website, there's a much, much greater value on those conversing. And we can get into deeper dive, which is how I know what I just said. But my guess is that the best thing that happened to Google over the last decade is ChatGPT. Is because by ChatGPT kind of forcing Google to move faster and launching Gemini, because they've had this before internally, but by forcing Gemini to become something that is available to consumers, I think they now know at scale how incredible that is for them. And they probably want search to die as fast as they can so Gemini can grow as fast as possible. That's my guess. So the bad is that search has gone down, but the good is that it gave birth to something way more valuable.
Yeah, but for something, to your point, I'm not sure if they're in a hurry to kill search because of the whole mature revenue streams there, right? And you've talked a lot about ads and the potential for advertising opportunities in chat. I would love to dive a little deeper on that, really, because that's very nascent now, right? There's not, they're still really figuring out like how does advertising interact with this new way of this potentially much more engaging way of interacting. So like, what are you seeing so far that's working? Like, I feel like whenever I sort of go here, there's sort of some default things that you might want to do in a chat, but I also think the risk of, I guess, undermining the trust in that chat is high if it comes in the wrong way. So what is your take on that? Or am I even thinking about it the right way?
I don't know if I agree with you. So first of all, ads, when done right, are great. I would pay a subscription to Meta to see more ads on Instagram if I could. I love ads. I buy things from them all the time. Things I need, things I don't need. These are great ads. Nothing. Google search ads, we've been using them. God knows we're making over $20 billion a year. They're very good at what they do. Works for the user.
TikTok does all right as well.
Yeah, TikTok they've grown a $17 billion commerce business really fast. So when ads are great, if anything, you want more of them because they provide you value. So I don't think, ads are bad when they're bad. It's when they're not relevant or when they're not native to the environment, they're on my way. This is when they bother us. But otherwise, I think, we'd love to see as many ads as we can, and ideally wherever we can, because that means we can provide more affordable products. We can create more original content, more things. So in general, I would separate between bad ads and good ads. And so let's assume that you can do a good job with ads in an LLM environment. That I think is a huge opportunity for advertisers, and let me get in on that a little bit. So first, we launched a product called DeeperDive about 6 months ago or so.
Right.
In the US, first was used at Gannett with Mike Reed, CEO and chairman. What an amazing experience. We started by putting just an AI kind of like bar, ask us anything on the homepage and article pages.
Right. It's basically a chat bot. I don't want to, I know that's kind of a loaded term now, but that's kind of what it is, right? It's like basically instead of search, you can go with a conversation.
So that's what it was on day one. And then what happened, we've realized nobody was using it. Because what happened was search, site search kind of died over the years. Like people barely use it anymore. And
people found out it was bad.
Well, people went to Google. People went to Google to search and come back. It was more convenient.
Exactly. Yes.
So people thought it's a site search and they didn't use it. And then we added contextual questions. So if the article was about, reviewing microwaves or coffee machines, then it would say, suggested questions about coffee machines. And that did improve adoption, but not enough. It was only when we start surfacing what we call for you suggested questions, things that we see you read around the web. So I love the Knicks, and I'm going for a game tonight. Nice. Go Knicks. So if I read about the Knicks all the time, and then I go to USA Today, DeeperDive will say, what do you think about it? What do you think of Mike Brown? And is he a good coach or not? And I click on it, and then I get into DeeperDive, and I learn that there is such a thing as LLM on USA Today. It was only then that we unlocked this chasm that LLM does matter on a publisher side. People didn't understand what it was before. So first of all, I don't think it's a chatbot because chatbot to me sounds like a search bar, and that's I don't think that's a great business today. However, if you can create an LLM habit, that is a very powerful thing. And then, going back to...
So wait a minute, let me see if I understand the breakthrough that you had. It's basically that when you understanding the person's history, you could then essentially offer those suggestions, those little breadcrumbs, I guess, into the experience. Because absent those, there's no reason for them to go there. Was that the big unlock?
Let me tell you this crazy story. When we launched it, their adoption was low. I was so surprised. I put people in a lab with video cameras. You can pay these labs that do consumer experience testing, and I asked them to read USA Today for 8 hours. I want to know what the hell is going on. Why are they not using it? This is such a valuable product, and I didn't get it. And I just saw that I think they really thought it's a site search,
right?
And we know that's not as impactful as it was 20 years ago. So then I realized that we need to give them something that is obviously valuable to them for the first time, second time, and third time, until then they start typing and on their own, which they now more and more do. So that was a very important, to your question, glue kind of factor for people to say, oh, I can ChatGPT myself on USA Today now. And by the way, it's only giving me content from USA Today that I can actually trust, not hallucination. And it's available to all of us. I don't have to pay for that, as I do with Perplexity and such. So, wow, nice, great value for consumers and great value for USA Today. And what we now know, which I didn't know back before I launched it, is that it's great value to advertisers as well.
Okay. And how do you realize that value? Is it it's kind of like the recommended questions? Is it like, when they ask something, is there some sort of sponsored link or image, or how does it work?
Yeah, so the current version of DeeperDive is kind of as if ChatGPT short summaries answers and Google Blue Links had a baby. So and that was just one product. So right now, if you ask about Mike Brown of the Knicks and what the chances will win and all those things, it will give you a short answer, which you expect from ChatGPT. You got what you wanted. But then it's going to say, you know what, the internet was not meant to be summarized. Here are some things you should read from USA Today that can help you discover more about that topic, which is really nice. And then currently it shows one ad at the top and one ad at the bottom, similar to search ads on Google. So right now we've kind of borrowed search ads user experience as of now, and they perform well. And I mean, I'm again, we haven't shared numbers yet, but I'm very encouraged. Early stages about what I'm seeing. So right now, that's how it generates revenue, kind of like how Google search generates revenue. And it gives you the ChatGPT type answer. It gives you the blue links to read more from USA Today, and it has one ad at the top, one ad at the bottom, and all of that is performing well.
Nice. So now that you've built this for a major publisher, you've learned a lot, you've clearly iterated. Is this now going to be something that you offer to other publishers? And is because USA Today has this sort of wide coverage area, obviously they're sort of a general pub. Is that the findings that you've gained on DeeperDive from them? Is that something that's going to translate to other sites? What is the future of this endeavor?
Yeah. So first of all, like innovation always starts with culture. And I think we're very fortunate to have people like Mike Reed at Gannett and USA Today, Christian from The Independent in the UK, that give Taboola a chance. Always, I always go back. We have 11,000 publishers, $2 billion in revenue, but I'll never forget, those who give us a chance for the first time. And it takes a lot for someone to say, I'm gonna be first. I'm gonna try something out. It's gonna shake the organization a little bit, And now what we found out is that the editorial team of USA Today loves it. I mean, they wake up in the morning, they look at the questions people ask the night before, they create question of the day powered by their own editorial team. And they love of course, they love the engagement growth and revenue growth, but it's part of the workflow of the newsroom editorial team, which is awesome. And then to your question, while it's early days, I can tell you more publishers are live. We just have not announced them yet. I just came back from India. We launched India Today in India, which was we had a big event there, and huge adoption in the market,
Right.
in that market. And so now you're gonna hear more about it in the news coming up. Different publishers launching this, and we're learning all the time. This is almost like an operating system because remember, this is very strategic to publishers. This is not a widget. This is an interface for consumers to interact with journalism. So we're trying to create some consistent experience so consumers can recognize it across different sites. I want this to be easy for users. But we're learning, we're iterating, we're humbled to work with good publishers. And I hope that if AI is a real thing, we get to see good adoption of this product all around the world. And I think it's going to be great also for advertisers as well as publishers in this new web kind of, era.
Yeah, I'm curious about like the size of the corpus and how much that matters to sort of hone in on one aspect of my previous question, which is that because like USA Today is vast, there's a huge archive and a big wide coverage area. Think about smaller publishers with narrower focuses, right? Who might, obviously have an archive that's valuable to a certain audience. Maybe that's enough. Or I sometimes wonder, is it better to think about things in terms of like, would you want like a bigger corpus even for a smaller site like that, right? Like they might want to offer the experience, but not just solely on their content.
Oh,
and
yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, I think first of all, stage one is going to be what happens is, look, most of our publishers are fairly big publishers, so we don't have long tail at all, and we don't have even smaller site barely at all.
Sure.
So most of our publishers are fairly big from that perspective. So their corpus is big enough for their own vertical. Could be sports, could be local, it could be news, but they tend to have a lot of coverage in that vertical they operate in. Two, a lot of publishers have a network of sites. If you think about Gannett and USA Today, they have hundreds of sites, of local sites. If you have, the Independent has the Bulletin. So they a lot of times they have sister sites and partnerships. I think it's so new, AI and LLM on the open web. I think for the next few quarters, maybe a year, we're just going to establish a certain behavior, in my opinion, a certain behavior just to get consumers to try it out, publishers to feel comfortable with that, advertisers to monetize LLM. That's going to be a new thing. It's like the next CTV, LLM monetization. It's a big potential new thing. And I do suspect that, to your note, over time, publishers will start creating this friendships to say, you know what, I'm into sports. I don't really compete with you. You're in finance. If I'm someone asking about a mortgage, how about I send them to you? And if someone asks, but then they send them back to us. I do suspect we'll see some of that because it's going to be one of those 1 + 1 = 3, perhaps. But that might be a second iteration or third iteration of that.
So, you mentioned the audience experience and getting used to it. I'm curious what you've learned about, I guess, what could be loosely called as safety, which is, obviously there's the hallucination stuff I think you alluded to earlier, but, there's also like, I feel like there's a certain sect of people whenever there's a new AI experience, they set out to break it or make it say the worst things, right? And then there's just, even when it isn't saying the worst things, there's just the whole risk of like accusations of bias or, stuff with political queries, et cetera. How do you think about that? How do you think about those guardrails? How have you managed that in this experience?
Yeah, so actually that's how we started DeeperDive, when we first started training that model and fine tune it. The first thing we've done was realizing that publishers, before they do anything, would have to make sure that the downside is protected. People can ask crazy questions, take screenshots, and so we spent a good amount of time at the very beginning of the product just focusing on that. And I want to say we got to very, very high. There's nothing 100% never exists, but publishers tell us they feel very comfortable with where it is right now. We actually launched a dedicated QA team that before it ever launches on a publisher site, we have our own QA process in which we stress test different things, bad things, good things, accuracy, freshness. So
basically your own red team.
Yeah, because we what your question is it's an obvious like evil. The good news is that evil is a short-term strategy. So people always try to do nasty stuff, but this is luckily not a material problem that we're facing. I think we did a good job. We're like taking out the obvious ones, and I'm sure we'll keep fixing and iterating as time goes by. For me, the biggest thing that I'm focused on, like if you're asking what scares me or what is on my mind, I'm not concerned about monetization. I think that's going to be really good. I'm not concerned about hallucination and things because we're working with publishers' own content. So we have the best of the best. It's a confined, isolated environment. I'm not concerned about the accuracy of the product. I'm primarily concerned about how do you create a whole new habit. When YouTube launched, it made it such that streaming was available. Before YouTube, we had to download videos and watch them the next day, if you remember. And now we can search and watch whatever we want. It was a whole new habit of watching streaming live, whatever I want to watch. Wow. But to imagine that I can talk to the internet and get trusted information about decisions that matter. Because when I book a trip for a vacation, I will never, ever book it on ChatGPT. And the reason is, I may start the question on ChatGPT, hey, I want to take my 3 kids and wife and dog to a vacation in Mexico. What should I do? And it may give me some ideas. But then I'm always going to leave ChatGPT and go to the travel section of USA Today. I'm going to go to YouTube and watch some videos. I'm going to go to some maybe travel sites that have been there and spend 20, 30 minutes seeing different places and then decide. Because if I book a trip based on ChatGPT, 30-second conversation, and I actually go there, I think my wife I may come back with a divorce because who knows where I'm going. So I think for important decisions, healthcare, travel, commerce, you're never going to just decide over 30 seconds. You're going to need conviction. And this is where the open web and LLM have a big upside. So for me, the main thing on my mind is adoption and creating that habit.
Yeah, it's like you say, I think you're sort of talking about what you might call higher stakes queries, higher stakes transactions when your money's on the line, when you're doing stuff for, say, your healthcare. Absolutely. I think people are going to want a certain amount of reliability. Although I do kind of wonder, like you mentioned, sort of building the habit, right? And I do feel like people are building that habit to a large extent on these platforms, like on ChatGPT, on Google, on Perplexity. And so that's happening. And I think the ultimate question around when I think about these experiences on media sites, like, are those going to be subsumed by this sort of larger trend on these other platforms? And I think there's a case to be made for it and a case against. Like, if you think about the beginning of social media, there was actually a lot of experiments, some from media, some from others, on sort of building their own sort of social infrastructure. Pretty quickly went away, and then everything sort of migrated to social. But then if you think about the reverse, all of these platforms have to some extent like ways to post articles, right? Whether it's Facebook or Twitter and Threads, et cetera. But blogging never went away. Articles are still out there. So maybe that speaks to specialties and what's the open web's good and what isn't for. But it feels like the jury's still out on whether this sort of specialized interface becomes like the thing that actually works on media sites, or are people just going to go to their platforms and go to ChatGPT and just be done with it? I don't know. Maybe it's a mix, but what are you? Obviously, you're betting the other way.
Well, I'm betting. I'll tell you what I think. Independent of Taboola, and then from within Taboola. First of all, independent of Taboola, I think long tail is at high risk. If you're on a blog, if you're on WordPress, my guess you get a lot of side door traffic versus direct traffic, and I think that's at a high risk on the open web. Though I think many of them will become creators, like the creator economy or social media. I think many of them will move to Snap. Many of them will move to Meta and will become creators on those platforms, but no longer on the open web as we know it now. So that's, I think, at a high risk. I think if you're a big website with a lot of search traffic, that's also, I think search traffic exposure is if you're 50, 60, 70, 80%, that could be a problem. The search traffic will go down, not to zero, but it's going to go down 20, 30%. Who knows? I know I have no crystal ball, but it's going to go down to some degree. So I think those two segments are at high risk. The rest, who have a very strong brand, a lot of direct traffic, I think will go up like organic food went up over the last decade. In a world of bots and over noise, I think having a relationship with a trusted organization, I think is going to become, I think ESPN and sports will double. That's my opinion. I think CNBC will double, I think the travel section of USA Today will double because you're going to need something that is organic food and healthy. There's going to be, there's so much going on. You're going to want either you have a lot of passion in which you would prefer to spend time watching the Knicks, reading something about them because you're so passionate about it, or it's so important that you want a trusted brand. So I do think they have a huge upside. And specifically, there's a cultural question here. Are these publishers, are they ready to present an LLM to consumers? That I don't know yet. I don't know. This is a big change to allow consumers. Some are doing it.
Washington Post.
We talked about whether, but I'm not talking about also summarizing articles. That's not a cultural challenge. I'm talking about, I want to talk to a reporter through an LLM. I want to ask the publisher a question. I want to have a conversation, a 5 minutes back and forth. Are you ready? Are you ready? And I think this is, like always, the biggest innovation starts and ends with culture. Because you need someone strong that says, we're going to break some things along the way, but that's how the future looks like. We're going to do it. So to me, I think this is going to be the biggest chasm, and I'm excited about it. I hope to be a big part of it, but this is what I think.
For people's comfort level with this, how much do you think about privacy and you're having a conversation here, people are saying things to these chatbots in some cases that are really intimate, and what should their expectation be when they go to something like DeeperDive or a publisher site? I mean, obviously a big strength of the platform of introducing one of these things is the data, as you mentioned. The reporters love it. That can be anonymized, certainly, and maybe that needs to be the norm, but I don't know. What is your approach to user privacy?
One of the benefits, first of all, we'll see. We've spent 30 years in the open web not being successful at getting consumers to sign in and those things for the most part.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to change, and who knows? Maybe this is how it's changing. But what's clear to me is these publishers have a lot of trust built over, in some cases, 100 years. They're not going to, shortcut anything for consumers. It's too important for them, the cloud they have. So I think actually, going back to the upside with LLM, I would give a publisher my credit card to buy something on my behalf. I would give my Apple Pay to CNBC. I would give to a local, to NBC New York. I would give them my Apple Pay to help me get maybe something locally in my town. I trust them. They will never do something bad to me. By the way, Perplexity on the other side, I don't know. I mean, look, we've seen walled garden and consumer brands over the last 2 decades doing a lot of nasty things. So if anything, I definitely trust NBC, USA Today, Yahoo, Apple News. So I trust them 1,000 times more personally.
Interesting. So that brand counts for that trust going forward. You don't see that changing even with the introduction of AI into the ecosystem.
I'm not letting Perplexity buy anything from me, but I would definitely give NBC my credit card. So again, the way I think about it is I'm paying them in any case on my CTV. Like I'm paying ESPN to watch the Knicks in any case. I have a paying relationship with them. I already love them. I already love the brand. So for me, that's an easy jump. these smaller startups that are worth tens of billions of dollars, I don't know what they're going to do with my data or my money. So for me, actually, that's an opportunity for decisions that matter. For publishers to say, you know what, if the consumer is asking about how to clean my t-shirt, go to Perplexity. But if they want to buy a mortgage, if they want to buy a product, if they want to take a vacation, this is where you need trusted information. So I think this is where publishers have an opportunity, I may be wrong, to own the piece of the LLM pie that is actually the most valuable, which is the decision that need more conviction before I make a purchase.
Interesting. Would you say this is the one thing that the main thing that publishers are misunderstanding about AI, or just sort of not seeing the opportunity through the trees? Like what if over the next year you could adjust publishers' outlook on how to approach this space? What would you change?
Try and fail fast. I mean, in general, that's what I share with my partners. When I ask them of anything is like, let's fail fast together. And because, none of us has seen the future, but it takes true relationship. It's why I like coming back to the office and not working from home too much, because you need human connections, relationship. In a world of AI and things, it matters even more. We underestimate the power of me calling you and say, hey, Pete, I need you to try something, or, I may fail, but can we give it a week and see what happens? So I think the best thing you can do now in times of change is to show, leadership and try things, fail fast, do things together. I don't believe, we don't know all the answers, but together we're like Captain Planet, with your powers combined, I'm Captain Planet, so we are as good as the collective of our partners together. And together we are bigger than many of these walled garden companies. Together we have more data, more reach, more opportunity to innovate. So that's the best that we should do.
More of a Voltron guy myself, but I get the message.
I love it.
Adam, this has been great.
Did you build the Voltron Lego or not yet?
My kids are super into it now, so they carry the legacy forward. Adam, this has been fabulous. Thanks so much. It's a great note to leave on. Fail fast, but I'll fail together with that human connection. I love it.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Thanks for listening to my conversation with Adam Singolda of Taboola. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you take just a minute to leave a rating and review for the Media Copilot in your podcast app. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Media Copilot newsletter and check out MediaCopilot.ai for our classes on AI for journalists, PR professionals, and communicators. Be seeing you in the future.